Hi everyone, it's Kim from Fleece and Harmony recording our knitting podcast, episode number 90, and it's February 18th if you're watching it the day that it's published. The podcast is recorded in our yarn shop, which is in our woolen mill, which is on our sheep farm in Belfast, Prince Edward Island. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, and if you've been around with us for 90 episodes, then welcome back. And we're going to do the usual thing today. We have a farm update, and we have a couple other little special things that we're going to talk about. And I will do a little talk about my whips and rips. No rips, just the whips, works in progress. And I don't really have an FO, but I'm going to show you some other things that we had that are knitted. And we're going to start a new section in our shop called Made for You. So you don't need to knit it, you can buy it. So we're going to show you some things that are going in there. And I'm going to introduce you to a new designer I found, and maybe you know her already, but it's going to be, I'll do a little introduction to her. And I am going to start a new project, so I'll show you what my plans are for that. And we've got a little update on bunnies, we've got a little bit of llama crochet, and we've got quite a big shop update. So we're going to go through quite a few things. Some things are restocked and other things are new. So we will start with the farm update. So the weather roller coaster continues here on Prince Edward Island. So it fluctuates between 6 or 7 degrees Celsius, which is obviously above freezing, and it's raining, down to minus 19 again last night, and it didn't get up over minus 15 Celsius today. So it's a little crazy, and we're not really having seasonable weather, which would be normally around minus 2 Celsius here, and we're not expected to have that till next week sometime. It's a little bit windy today, so if you hear banging, that's that door in the back that I've talked about before that bangs in the wind. It's quiet right now, but there has been a few gusts of wind. And I'm going to answer a question actually that came up about the farm update. So we were talking about Diva a couple episodes ago and last episode. So Diva is the oldest sheep on our farm. We don't really know how old she is because she was already quite old when we got her. And she's retired and is living a life of leisure on the farm. And she's, somebody asked if she can get to the feeder okay, or if younger sheep push her out of the way. So no, they don't actually. It's kind of a weird situation because she's not the leader of the flock, and she's not really, aggressive. She's not like, sometimes the young ewes they'll do headbutting and stuff like that. So she doesn't do any of that. But she is just there, and she's like the grandmother of the flock. So she's got young sheep that are always hanging around with her, and but they leave her alone. Like, she just does whatever she wants, and there's no competition with her. If she's eating, she's kind of like in control of her space. And in the farm update that I did, I don't remember if that was the last episode or the episode before, I showed the sheep all coming in, or maybe that was in the harmony part, I can't remember, but I had showed a video of the sheep and they were going in and out, and they actually, the way that was, when that was recorded, what happened was the sheep all were in the barn, then they went out, then they came back in, and then they all left and went around the corner of the barn to a paddock that we have right next to the barn. Diva didn't go out because she doesn't do ice or snow, so she stayed in the barn, but she let out this big baa while I was recording, and all the sheep came back and came in. So she's got some kind of influence on the flock, and I think I've told this story before. When we were lambing, she would be kind of like we weren't breeding her anymore because she had these 3 huge twins, or triplets, the last time she had babies, and it was really hard on her. They were 10 pounds each, and so that's a lot of babies for a sheep. and she just took her a little bit longer to recover after she had those huge triplets. So she's been retired since then. But even when she didn't have lambs of her own, she always was kind of like lambs would gravitate towards her, and they would sleep with her and stuff. And even when she was having lambs, she would feed other sheep's lambs. So if we had a lamb that would have been a bottle feeder, they could always get milk from Diva when she was lambing. So I think the sheep that are there have kind of a connection with her. Maybe either she babysat them or their offspring, like she's probably their grandmother or great grandmother or something. But anyway, she's got a lot of influence in the flock, but she's not the leader. And she's well respected, so she does just fine. They leave her lots of room to eat, and she's still not going out because it's icy, so she just stays in the pen. Well, Ken is putting all the hay out and everything. So that's the story of Diva. The reason why we called her Diva actually is because the very first year we were having lambs, she got very weak before she had her babies, and we had to call the vet to come, and they did blood work on her and everything, and they found out that she had like a toxemia, which sheep can get really close to when they're about to give birth. And so he suggested that we put her in a pen by herself so that she didn't have to compete with anybody and just let her rest until she had her lambs. And so we looked after her, but she really loved it being in the pen by herself. She was like she was in the spa. So we called her, that's when we named her Diva. And she had 3 lambs that year. And it was really funny because I had told the vet that she was fine and that, she had made it. And he says, "Oh, good." And I said, "Oh, good." I said, "Well, did you think she might not?" And he said, "Well, I wasn't sure." Anyway, she's really, really strong. And she's just older now, but seems to have the respect of the flock. So that's the story of Diva. So no problems with her getting her enough food. And she's got all her teeth, so that's good, because sometimes when sheep get older, they start to lose their teeth, and then it's hard for them to eat, obviously. So she's got her teeth, so I don't know how long she's going to be with us, but it seems like she's doing fine. In the snow situation here, we've got yesterday was a snow day. Ken and I were in here working, but Jennifer Hicks and Janet couldn't come to work because the roads weren't cleared. So it just keeps piling on. I don't know how much snow we've had so far, but it's, I don't know, probably well over 100 centimeters of snow. And there's just piles of it everywhere, and it's getting hard to find a place to put it. But we're more than halfway through. That's just what we keep thinking about. And there was a lot of snow yesterday and the day before, but it was all fairly light, so it was easy to move around, and we got everything cleared up today. So everything's good. So we're ready to go for the next one. So I want to mention something that we were part of. There's a program on CBC. So our public broadcaster here in Canada is the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Company. And they have a show called Land and Sea, which is focused on things from the land and the sea in the Maritimes and Atlantic Canada, actually. They feature Newfoundland quite a lot as well. And that show has been running, I think, for close to 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. Although the season is only 21, so I'm not sure, but they like to say that they've been on air for 30 years, so I'm not quite sure how that works. The math works on that, but anyway, they're in their 21st season, and it's a half-hour program, and they feature different people, like farmers and fishermen and cultural things that are in the Maritimes and everything. So it's a pretty cool show. And you can stream it on, there's a streaming channel for CBC called GEM. So it's CBC GEM. And you can stream any program there. And I think you can get it anywhere in the world, because it's just a link that I'm going to put down in the show notes. So if you want to see this particular program that I'm want to talk about, So they did a program on wool in the Maritimes. So they asked Amber, our shearer, she was part of it. They came and recorded here on Fleece and Harmony. They also visited the Belfast Mini Mill down the road from us, and they did features on weavers and rug hookers as well. So there was really about the trends in fiber in the Maritimes and how some of those traditions are really becoming revived and reinvented. So I'm just going to show a tiny clip, kind of like a trailer for the show, and I'll let you take a look at that. And so here we go.
I usually shear roughly 8,000 sheep a year. This year I'll probably shear a bit over 10,000.
It's soft, it's warm, and it's addicting to buy. I have a full wool addiction.
The stereotype is, you know, somebody's grandmother sitting by herself knitting, but it's not that anymore at all.
I think that it started with the accessibility of YouTube, being able to do tutorials, not necessarily having to have a family member that was a knitter or a fiber artist of their own, like handing down the craft to you.
That's the clip, and I put a link in the show notes if you want to watch the full program. Like I said, it's a half-hour program on TV when it's on TV, so it's probably like 22 minutes or something like that when you look at it without any of the commercials. So it's really really cool. It was fun to do, and it's really interesting to see how many people are making their you know, doing their crafts and keeping old traditions alive, but reinventing them at the same time and doing some really, really cool things. So with that, we'll get to the works in progress. So I'm going to show Tungsten first because I've started to work on Tungsten again. So this is Tungsten, and it's from magazine 70, the Rowan magazine, and it's this argyle sweater that you see right in the middle. I think you can see that. Okay, and and this is the magazine it's from, the platinum edition of the Rowan magazine. And I got smart. I have, there's intarsia in this sweater, and I was always fumbling around with all the little bobbins and everything. So I just pulled out my Cocoa Knits mesh bag, and this Cocoa Knits mesh bag has little snaps along the top, so you can separate your different balls of yarn if you're doing color work in there. So now it's not getting tangled and everything anymore. So that's good news. And I'm just going to hold up. I'm going to hold it up there because I don't want to pull out all the yarn. So the argyle pattern is really starting. I'm just about to finish off the diamonds, and then after that I just have a little bit more, and then I'll start doing the shaping for the sleeves. And we still have kits of this available on the shop, in the shop. If you want to go online, you can buy kits, and there's 3 different color choices for the kits. So this one is the blue one. And I modified the color just a little bit for mine because when I started it, I ran out of the one of the yarns that I have in the blue kit. So it is modified a little bit, but there's 3 different colors. There's the original one, which has the green argyle. And there's this one that I have with navy, and then there's another one that has a darker, like a really dark navy and darker gray. So that's the Tungsten. So this is just the back, and the diamonds are intarsia, and the lines are also intarsia, but I'm going to do duplicate stitch for those. So I'd already started with intarsia here, but when I do the front, I'll just do it in duplicate stitch because there's 4 different lines on this, so that means you've got 4 bobbins if you do intarsia, which was getting a little unruly, I have to say. So I'm glad that I picked this up now, and now that I'm almost through the diamonds, then the color work part is just about done, so it'll be just some straight knitting up to the top after that. So that is back out of hibernation. And the reason why it's out of hibernation is because Paisley is actually getting done. So I'm going to show you 2 big things that were progress this week. So there's all kinds of crochet that has to be done around the different sections. So I've showed some of this before. I realized after the last episode that this part of the crochet, which is this light blue part along the button band here, I had actually done it incorrectly. So it's just one line of crochet, and I just unraveled it. So I just zipped it out, and I redid it, and I like it much better. It's now done the way that Sizzle suggested in the pattern. So I should say it's Paisley Cardigan, or Kafka, she calls it. So it's a Paisley jacket, I think would be the translation, by Sizzle Hoivik. So now that I've redone this light blue stripe here, I like it much better. And I'm going to show, I took a picture up close, but I'm going to just show, there's a lot of crochet and duplicate stitch and a lot of fiddly stuff going on in this sweater that you really wonder if it's worth it or not. So I want to show you what the difference is. So on the bottom of the sleeve, I took a close-up picture, so I'll put that up. On the bottom of the sleeve, you do crochet, finishing technique on the crochet, and I took a picture of the sleeve before I did that part and a picture afterwards with the two sleeves like next to each other, and you can really see that these little details actually do add quite a lot to the look and the finishing of the sweater. So it's taking me quite a long time to do it, and I would think that some people might think, well, that's not really worth it, but it's really these little touches that kind of really put the separate that sweater from just being kind of still impressive. The knitting in it itself was impressive, but all of these little details really just enhance it. And the one thing I have to say about this when I knit it was in the picture it looks quite purpley blue, and I was a little bit disappointed when I got the yarn because this yarn is fairly muted, and I was a little bit disappointed that it didn't really look like the picture. But now that I've started doing, there's duplicate stitch as well, and now that I've started doing the duplicate stitch, I can see that it makes the color pop. So I'll take a picture of this as well, but I'll just show while I'm talking. You can see here that there's duplicate stitch all along the inside of these paisleys, and there'll be the same thing, duplicate stitch on the front panel as well when we get down here. So I really didn't know, like in the dim light while I was doing the duplicate stitch in the evenings, if it was really worth it, because I couldn't really see the impact that it was making. But I'm going to show you what the difference is. So actually, I'm going to just move up even a little bit. So you can see that you're not just using one color to do the paisleys to enhance them, you're actually putting two colors. So one of the paisleys has the darker lavender and one has the lighter, and then you alternate that all around the sleeve. So I did two complete, so you've got the darker lavender and the lighter lavender, but I've just continued working and I've got all the light ones actually done, and now I'm going to do the dark ones. And then after this, there's little sequins that go on top of there to highlight where those little dots are on the paisley. So it really does make a difference between, you know, this kind of muted look and then these pops of color that you have. So I was remotivated when I woke up this morning and saw it in the light. I was remotivated to keep going, and you can see that it really just changes the whole look of it. It does make it look much more lavender than it does without that duplicate stitch. And if you want to know about how to do duplicate stitch, I did a tutorial, so I'll put a little link up here, and you can check out that. There, I give you a few tricks. There's a few tricks to do. Duplicate stitch is not that hard to do, but it's a little bit tricky to make it look like it was actually knitted there. But I give you the tricks that you need to know to do that. It has to do with the tension and the way you pull the thread down. So if you want to check out that that tutorial, you can. So I'm just continue working on this, but now I'm going to finish it, obviously, but it's not really much more to say about it. There's not really any more knitting things to say. It's more going to be just, I will show you my progress. Every podcast probably will be done I might be on one more podcast, but not after that. And I just hope it fits, because it fit me perfectly before Christmas, but I still don't know if it, I don't think I've got back to my fighting weight yet after Christmas. I ate a lot of chocolate over Christmas, but anyway, we'll see. Hopefully it fits. So that's what I'm hoping. And luckily I don't have to find buttons for it, because the buttons come with the kit, because I'm having a real button problem now, which I'll talk about later. So that's the Paisley. And if you have bought the kit and you haven't done it and you were worried about the knitting, I can tell you that you know, it is, don't beat yourself up if it takes more than a year to do it, or any big project that you're doing, because when that's finished, that's not just a sweater that you just pull on and forget about it. It's really something that's quite special. So so I'm happy to be doing it. So then what am I going to do next? So what I'm going to do next is I talked about this, I think it was actually in the summer that it was my intention to start it, but I didn't. It is the Cowl Cardigan. We had the sample in the shop. So the cowl is attached right to the sweater. And when you put that cowl around and you wrap it around twice, it actually closes the cardigan. So it brings it close enough that it actually closes the cardigan, which is what I liked about it. And so that is the pattern is in Mode at Rowan, collection 1. So these are patterns done by Quail Studio. It's a really good one. It's the first one that they did of that series, and now there's 5. And they're all really great patterns that are like classic, but they tend to be like in neutral tones and that kind of thing. So the original Cowl Cardigan was knit in the color, I think it's pumice in Kid Classic, so it's a gray. And but I'm not doing it in gray, I'm doing it in the cherry red, which is red. So I'm going to cast this on this week. I'm really excited about this. So Kid Classic is a yarn it's about 100 and I think it's 153 yards for 50 grams. So it's thin-ish, but it's a little bit heavier than a DK, and it's super, super soft and squishy. And I was considering doing the Cowl Cardigan in Selkirk worsted actually, but I just think it would be too heavy. It's quite a long cardigan. It takes, for my size, it takes 14 balls of the Kid Classic. So it's quite a lot of yarn, and I didn't want to have, you know, a sweater that was weighed more than a kilogram. And the Kid Classic is really light and fluffy, and it's really, really nice to knit with, and it has a drape. So even though it's a little bit thicker of a yarn, it does have a really nice drape. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm gonna just love this red color. So we have Kid Classic, all of the colors that they make, and we have them in stock, have it in stock in sweater quantities. So I think to celebrate the starting of the knitting of the Cowl Cardigan, I'm going to offer a kit price. So if you want to buy the yarn for the Cowl Cardigan, I'm going to offer it as a kit. So what you'll have to do is when you shop, you just put in the quantities of yarn that you need for the Cowl Cardigan, and then the price that we'll give you off is equivalent to 10% off of the yarn. And I can tell you, so I'm knitting 40 to 42 size, because I'm a 41-inch bust, and that takes 14 skeins. And I think the smallest size takes, so the smallest size takes 13, and then it goes up to, I can't see, XX large. So, and I can't see how many skeins it is. I think it says I don't know what it says. I'll put it in the down in the titles. I can't read it. So you'll get a little bit of a discount if you want to purchase the yarn. The other thing that I'll do is that I have sweater quantities and everything, but if people want to order more than, like if a lot of people want to order the same color, then I'm going to run out. But the shipping from Rowan is really, really quick. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to allow orders even if we're out of stock, and then I will order the colors that you have ordered. So there might be a little bit of delay in getting it, but I will let you know if we didn't have a quantity in-house to fill your order. And but I will place an order for the quantities that we need for everybody to get what they want. So it's like a pre-order, I guess. But I still have quite a lot in inventory to get ready for this, so hopefully there won't be too many problems with that. So that's really good fun. I'm really excited about starting this, and I know some of you were waiting to see if I was going to actually do it or not, and maybe you wanted to start your own project. So now I'm doing it. I'm going to cast on. I will also show you. We have another little book of about Kid Classic. The Elda sweater in Kid Classic was in this little book called 4 Projects with Kid Classic. So that has the Elda that you've seen on the podcast. And if Jennifer Hicks gets her sweater done, then she'll be able to show it off. And there's also like a cardigan. There's these 4 patterns. So I wasn't normally carrying any of these little books because Rowan makes these little books for all the yarns that they make, so little 4 project books, but I really love them. So there's the beanie book that we have in stock. We have the one for Kid Classic. We have one for Island Blend Fine, which is a really nice yarn that they make as well. And we've got one for Creative Linen, but they have them for all of their yarns. So I'm slowly bringing them all in because I think they're really, really nice. They're really reasonably priced, and you get 4 great patterns, and they're usually really classic patterns to get. So you can check those little books out as well. So now let me see, I'm going to refer to my notes today because every episode I get finished of the episode and say, oh shoot, I forgot to talk about this. So I'm just going to look at my notes. So that's that for whips. And because I'm casting on a new sweater, I was kind of also looking at, you know how it is, the anticipation when you're about to cast on and you're getting excited and you're looking at the yarns and everything. So I actually came across a new designer on Instagram, and the name of her company is Caidree. And so it's Caidree, and I'll put a link below in the show notes. Her name is Sabina, and she has a really, really beautiful aesthetic. And if you go on her website to see her patterns, we don't sell her patterns, she sells them herself direct. But when you go on her website, she's done a really, really nice job of showing patterns for all different yarn weights. And they also, she has them really well labeled if they're a beginner pattern or not. So she's got 3 or 4 patterns that she has indicated that are good for beginners. And it's really classic looking sweaters. They're not like no super fancy, craziness on them or anything, but they're just really nice classic patterns. And she knits in a lot of different yarn weights. And there's different styles. They do tend to be a little bit more loose and kind of casual, but elegant looking. I find that it's really, really nice. So I was so impressed with her Instagram feed, and then when I went onto her website, that I thought it was worth mentioning that to check her out because she's got some really, really nice patterns. And I really like the fact that she uses different types of yarn and different weights of yarn, all the way from like a bulky down to something finer. And she also indicates if the patterns are for beginners or not. So if you're been contemplating whether to start a sweater, there's a couple good patterns there. Either like she does some turtlenecks, she does all kinds of different things, but it's all really, really nice. And she uses a lot of really neutral colors, so you can find some really nice suggestions there on her website as well. So you can check that out, Caidree, and the link is in the show notes below. So I just wanted to mention that. So for finished objects, I don't have anything that is actually finished except for my bunnies. So I'll show the bunnies first, and then we'll talk about the other items that I want to show. So I'm still waiting to find buttons. So I think I have some buttons, and I found a great shop in Germany that carried all kinds of doll buttons, but they don't ship to Canada, so I can't get them. So the search continues. For my own personal, my own little personal rabbits, I'll come up with something. But so again, if you haven't seen these rabbits before, these are patterns from Julie Williams, and her company is Little Cotton Rabbits. And this is Penelope, and they're knit with felted tweed and kid silk haze held together. And the clothes and the tights and the shoes are made from Rowan Summerlight DK. So that's Penelope. And then her little brother, Pierre, who has his own little knitted sweater and his pants, his dungarees, and I finished his sneakers. So for him, the sweater comes off. You knit the sweater separately. He's got his little boxer shorts on, which are just attached to his body. He's got his little coveralls that have little straps that cross, that will be buttoned down here as soon as I find buttons small enough. And then the sneakers come off and the socks are attached. But the last time we were with each other, he didn't have both sneakers. He only had one, so now they're finished. So these two are done. And I think they need another little friend. And I bought the pattern from Julie that has a different, like a whole selection of dresses. So I think it has to be a little rabbit that's going to wear a dress, because there's some really, really cute ones there that I want to make. So, and he still needs, his pockets need to be filled with there's a little bunny toy or a teddy bear that you can knit to put in his pocket. So I still have to do that. But as far as the work, really, other than the buttons, they're done. So that's it for the rabbits. But there will be more of them because they're just so much fun to make. And I don't know, it's a real sense of accomplishment because you get to finish things that just can take you just a little while to do. And then you have the dress done, and then you have the shoes done. And although I had to take out one of the shoes because I picked up stitches in the wrong place. So there was a rip. I said there was no rips, but there was a rip. So, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is that we've added a new category on the website, and it's called Made for You. And it is, we get asked a lot about, people come into the shop and they want to buy knitwear. So we don't have any knitwear for sale usually in the shop. So we decided that we would start doing some knitting. So the very first thing that we tried, I showed you a couple episodes ago, and that was the knitted hats that Janet was knitting, Janet that works with us, and they had snap-on pom-poms, and so she's been really busy. So these hats are all the hats that she made, and I have to, because she made all different colors, I have to take pictures of them all and put them on separately on the website. So I'm going to do that, but I would suggest there's a little on the menu when you go on to the home page. I think it's on the drop down menu. It's on the top right, and you drop down and you'll see Made for You. You can go in there and look, and the selection I think there is going to change just as we update it for different things that we have. So when Janet first did the hats, I think these two are the two left from the original one. So this one is Strawberry Fields, and this one is Slate. So, and as I said, these pom-poms snap on and snap off, so you can wash them. So there's those hats from that were still there. Sorry, I've got a piece of fluff in my eye. Then she's also done one in crowing, so black. So I'll put that up on the website. And there's one, this is where we're getting some of the yarn. This was actually the first version of cranberry scones that we did. So we actually did, dyed the skein a color, plover, and then we did the cranberry scones on top of it, but we rejected that one as a skein of yarn, but it makes a great hat. So we have the hat in that one. I'm not sure what I'm going to call that. Maybe cranberry scones 1 or something, I don't know. And this was another color combination that we tried. This ended up being, so when we pick colors to do, we have ideas about what we want to do, and then we tried different things. It's like we tried different dyeing techniques, and we tried different things to make the colors. And sometimes we reject certain colors because it's too time consuming to make them, so it's not really reasonable to make them for the volume of yarns that we sell. So we like them, but it's not really practical. And sometimes we just want to tweak something. We also look at what other colors we have to go with them, especially with the variegating ones. So this was one that was a really fun color, but I can't remember why we didn't launch it. I think it was an original version that we were looking at for when we were doing the wildflower collection. So that's a group of speckly yarns that we did with lots of white space, and we decided this didn't have enough white space, so you have the colors, I think it's the colors of wildflowers, but without the white space. So if you look up wildflowers on the website, you'll see that there's a lot more white in it, but it makes a nice hat. And this one is crocus. So again, I just love these pom-poms. So that one's crocus. And the last one we had, so this is, so you're going to get an in-depth, a little bit of a look of what's happening, because this one is a stripe, but we figured out a way to do it in a skein. So I think that we're going to do something interesting with this. It has a little bit of texture, like areas where it's has a little bit wider, but it comes out almost just like a self-striping. And it was completely by accident that we discovered this, but that sparked something, and I think you may see more of this. But in this case, you have autumn birch with, it's actually autumn birch with slate over it, but because the slate is over the autumn birch, it has a different kind of color, but it knit up in this cool stripe pattern. So we have that hat for sale as well. So then we decided that was so much fun that maybe we should have some other fun things. So I just dropped one of the things that I wanted to get. So I'm going to bend down here and get the mittens. So these are thrummed mittens, which most people have heard of them before. So Thrum mittens actually originated from Newfoundland and Labrador, and what makes them thrummed mittens, you can see they look really squishy. They're knit with yarn, and this is the traditional colors that they use. So they're usually made out of natural colors, so natural, and this is a gray. So soft gray would have been a color that you would have been able to have back in the day, even if you didn't have you didn't dye yarn, and natural. And then this red stripe, the red was a lot of the yarns that were dyed red were dyed with cochineal, which is it's actually a ground beetle that gives a red color to dye, and that would be kind of a splurge item, is to have that red color. So it was used sparingly, and it's used as an accent on a lot of things, but this is really like the traditional Thrum mittens. And if you're not aware of what a thrum is that these little specks on here that look like stitches are actually tufts of fleece or roving. So the inside of these mittens looks like this. And the idea here is that you stick your hand inside there, and when you first get them, then it's kind of hard to put your hand in because all of that fluff is in there and you need to work your hand inside. But what happens is as you wear them, all of that wool that's on the inside starts to felt, and it felts around on the inside of the mitten, and it makes it a very, very warm mitten. And they're just fantastic. It feels great in there like it is because it's super, super soft inside there, but it is a little bit hard to get your hand in. It's completely normal, especially in the thumb. That's completely the way that they are. And then once you wear them a few times, then that all felts inside, and it gives you kind of like an insulation inside and keeps the warmth there. So we have, I have quite a few pairs in this oyster and natural, which is the light gray. But I also have, this is the one pair that I have with slate and natural. So that'll be up on the website, so you can check those out. And we're going to get more of these. We think they're just great. And so I don't have that small of a hand. I think I take a 7.5 glove, and I can put my hand in here, even though they look, I don't know if they look small or if they look big, but they fit me perfectly. There's lots of room still in there though. So if you have a bigger hand, you'll have no problem. And if you have a smaller hand, you'll because of all of that fluff that's in there, it makes them pretty versatile. So there's a lady, her name is Jo, that is knitting those for us, and she's from Newfoundland, so she's got the inside scoop. But then she also took a bunch more yarn. So they're all knit with our yarn, and she's knitting them, but it's all yarn that I gave her from the mill. So she's got a little bit of a wild streak, I think, because these are Thrum slippers. So the same thing is the inside. You have all of that lovely fluff. So when you put your feet in there, the first couple times you wear them, you're going to have to kind of move your feet around inside there, and then that'll all get matted down, and you're going to have these lovely, lovely slippers. And they look pretty small actually, but it can fit up to a size 9 women's foot. So you have those, and we have just I don't know why this reminds me of a Smarty box or something. I don't know. I just love them. Anyway, I've got a couple different colors that I'll take pictures of and put up on the website, so you can check those out. And I can tell you, just having my hands in them, I can feel the heat. So they're really warm and cozy. They are a little bit slippery on the bottom, so they come just with the wool, so just keep that in mind. You can wear them around the house, of course, but they are just a little bit slippery. You might want to check out, we don't carry them, and I tried to find somebody that had them, so I may bring them in. But those suede bottoms that you can put on, if you have somebody that you're worried about that they might slip or fall with them, then you could purchase those at, I think, fabric stores, and most knitting shops carry them, but I haven't gotten them in, so I'm going to try to source those. So and then we restocked the knitting barber cords. So we talked about this on the last newsletter as well. So the knitting barber cords, if you're not aware of this, are silicone cords, and you take them out and you put them on the tips of your needles. And I just don't know if I can get my knitting out here. I'm going to show you. So I'll do a little demonstration. I have a big pile here now. So they fit over. They come all in really bright colors. This is the green, and I just showed you the blue. So these cords, of course, I'm going to pick the longest one. There's 3 in here. And they have a little tiny hole in the end of them, and I'll just see if I can put this up far enough that you can see. So they just fit over the tips of your needle like that, and then you can put them on the other side. So if you're knitting in the round and you want to try on your sweater, I don't know if I have those on far enough, but you can just move your knitting around all the way around without having to take your tips off of your needles. So that just makes a big loop. So if you can see if you were knitting in the round and you could use your tips of your needles to do this would be great to expand your knitting and to try them on. They don't come off when you put them on properly. I didn't put that one on very tight, but it's really small, the little hole, and I don't have my glasses on. Okay, so you just squeeze them on so they go down little like that, and then they're really quite solid. In fact, I had them on one day and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get them off, but that's it. So they're just ingenious. So yeah, there you see they're pretty tight. So those are they're flying out the door, and I think this is the third order. They come from Finland. I think this is the third order I've had, and I have all of the colors that she makes, and we have a good amount of inventory. So if you want to purchase them, and the picture that's on the website is just the picture of all the colors. So you get 3 cords, 2 at 30 inches and 1 at 60, I believe is the size of them. It's all the information is on the website. And there's 14 colors, I think. So they're not all this bright like this, but it seems like the bright ones are going first. So people like the really groovy ones. They just come in this little can. So you can check that out. They're back in stock. And I talked about this in the last newsletter. I'm just going to talk about the newsletter for a minute. If you haven't signed up to the newsletter, then I'm just going to tell you how it works. So the newsletter goes out every Friday at 2:30 Atlantic Standard Time. And for the newsletter subscribers, I usually have something special, a link in the newsletter that is only accessible to the newsletter people and or people subscribers. So like last week, it was the Celtic cashmere. So we had some cashmere in the shop, and we made the yarn, and it sold out within 3 hours on the newsletter, but only the newsletter people got to have access to it. So if I have something that I can make a bigger batch, I'll always try to make a big enough batch of something that the people from the newsletter get first crack at, but then I'll talk about it on the podcast as well, or we'll start carrying it in the shop as a regular item. But when I have limited editions, I'm always featuring it on the newsletters first. So you can subscribe to the newsletter if you go onto our website. There's a little email box on the bottom right-hand side. You can subscribe there, or through your account on the website. You can also subscribe there. You have to click the box that it says allows marketing items to be sent, but it's only the newsletter that we send you. And as I said, it goes out every Friday at 2:30. And so the next thing I wanted to talk about, though, is the book. So this book is the Nordic Knitter's Primer. Okay, the Nordic Knitting Primer, and it's written by Kristen Drysdale of Scandiwork. And we did a pre-order on these books, but now we have received them. And when we took a look at them, they're really, really great. She gives you really good tips for, the patterns are great, of course, because all of Kristen's patterns are fantastic. But she gives you really, really great tips on how to improve your knitting and how to improve your color work. And it really is a primer because she starts with projects. So she starts with, I forget what the first one is, but at the beginning of the project, she tells you what you're going to learn by doing that pattern, whatever it is. So you see she's got visuals about how to do things, and she starts you off with something simple like a hat or a cowl, fingerless mitts, and then she works up the skills to, at the end of the book, you've got something that's pretty intricate to do, and your knitting skills will improve all the way through. And she used our yarn for one of the patterns. So I'm just going to show you the Ingrid mittens. They're fingerless mittens, and they're made with our yarn. So I was really, let's see, I can't find them right away. So I won't waste a lot of time flipping through it. But we were so delighted that she chose Fleece and Harmony yarn. And then in the back, she says, thank you to your friends from all the different suppliers and everything. So we're really happy to have, might have to send one to my mother, even though she doesn't knit anymore. But the Nordic Knitting Primer. So we have that in stock. And I'm running out of space. I'll put that up there. And we have also restocked the Cocoa Knits Makers Board. So I'm just going to open this to show you. Comes in this gorgeous little bag. I would use it for a project bag. Take out my board. And we have 2 colors. So this is the original craft color, and there's gray as well. So you'll see those online. We have both of them, and there's magnets in here, so it's a little bit sticky when you open it. And this is the paper. It's a paper, but it's washable. So they make their accessory rolls out of this, and there's a portfolio that they make out of this. There's a couple things, and it's just it's amazing thing because it's paper, but you can totally wash it. So, and we've tried it. It works perfectly. And you get the magnets with the board, and the way the board works is it folds out, and you can put your pattern on it like this, and you can change where this goes, and there's magnets to hold your paper pattern, and then there's other magnets that you can use that just have like the coconut logo on them. They're tiny, so you can't really just show them like that, if you can see them. And there is a place to like pockets here on the side as well, where you can tuck things inside, and on both sides there's here, so you can tuck things inside. So it's pretty simply ingenious, just like everything Coconuts does, and really well crafted and beautiful. So we have that in this brown craft paper color, as well as gray, like a neutral gray. So that's in the shop, replenished again. We also got more Knitters block kits because we had run out of those, and we restocked the Swift and Yarn Buddy combo as well. So we have those 2 things restocked. And we worked on a new yarn. So we have Garfield Grizzly, which we have different batches of it from time to time, and that is a yarn that we make after we've done different batches of yarns. We don't waste any of the ends, so if there's a little bit of fiber left over, we don't throw it out. We save all of that leftover fiber, and then we spin a yarn called Garfield Grizzly. This batch that we just did a batch. It had the leftovers from the cashmere yarn that we did from the Celtic Cashmere. It had the leftovers from the Iona Bunny, so it has Angora in it. It has alpaca in it from when we did the Bell River DK, which is a 50-50 blend of alpaca and wool. And it's got lamb's wool that we used as the base for all of those special blends that we do. So it's a really nice batch of Garfield Grizzly. So we have, we've started to dye it, but because of the winter storms that we had, and Jennifer Hicks wasn't able to make it into work a couple days between the last 2 weeks, we haven't finished dyeing everything. So I'm going to show you what we're doing, and it'll all be dyed up by Friday, which is when you're seeing this. So by the time you see this, it'll be dyed up. But I'm going to show you the color selection that we're going to do. And it might be a little bit, a few little changes, but I'll take the proper pictures so that you can see the colors. So we have quartz, and this is on Garfield Grizzly, so that's the real thing. And we have vineyard. This is also the real one. And then we're going to do it in cranberry And we're going to do a color like this. This is actually worsted, but this is called Rose Petals, and it just has a little bit of, it's actually rhubarb with rosy cheeks on this variegation. But what we're going to do is we're going to alter that and use the cranberry instead of the rhubarb, so that we have a little bit deeper, and so these two will go together. So you'll have that. And we're also going to do heath. So heath is a color that I was showing in some knitted objects last time that Janet had made. And it has blue hits and bright green hits, but it's dyed on a muted base so that it has a really kind of soft, it has bright colors, but they're very muted because of the base that we're dyeing on. So we're going to do that. And periwinkle, it will go with that color. But you can also combine heath with navy and spruce, which is what Janet did in the projects that I showed in the last episode. So this again is on worsted, but this will be a color that's going to be there. And but what I I'm loving is this combination for low contrast if you wanted to do some color work patterns with a low contrast. So the quartz and the vineyard, we never really even thought about putting them together before, but as we were choosing the colors for the grizzly, we were like, wow, okay, we really like this. So I'm thinking maybe a next project for me, what might be this. I don't know, it just looks so warm and lovely. So that's it for the shop update. So that was kind of a lot. So we are going to go to the segment for llamas, crocheting llamas with Betsy. And if you're not interested in crocheting llamas, then I'm going to suggest again that you just look at the beginning of this segment, because Betsy has had some really interesting sweater adventures. In the last episode, she mentioned that she had cut her sweater by mistake. So this was the sweater that she did. She actually knit it from Stephen and Penelope yarn, which was, I'm not sure how much it is, but it's like a really nice yarn. And she cut her sweater by mistake, so right in the center. So if you didn't see that, you can go back to the last episode and take a look at that. It's in the llama section, but it's right at the beginning of the llama section. And so she has to get that, she has to fix that. So then she decided that her cutting skills were so good that she actually cut another sweater. And wait till you see which sweater she cut on purpose this time, though. So she decided to change the neckline of a sweater. And she talks about it at the beginning of that llama segment. And it's really worth watching to see what she did. And I can tell you that it's a bit of a shock what sweater it is, and the success is just fantastic. So it was when she knitted the design, it was all knit fine, but it turned out that she didn't like the neckline of the design, and so then she took drastic measures to make the sweater the way that she wants it, and it's just fantastic what she did. So take a look at that segment. Then it runs into the llama, crocheting the llamas, and then I'll be back after that with an update on the Fibre Festival. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about the Fibre Festival. So here's Betsy with her sweater adventures and the next step of the llama adventure. Hi, Betsy.
Hi, Kim.
It's a snow day.
It is.
But we're here. We're dedicated.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So hi, everybody. So this is part 5, I think, for the llamas.
Yeah.
So I did my homework. And for those that maybe it just happened upon us for the first time, we're doing a step-by-step process of how to crochet llamas, and Betsy is teaching me how to do it. And Betsy is the owner of Love and Llama.
Yep.
Yeah,
a website.
A website. And she makes these cute little llamas with personalities. So, and I have crocheted, but not very much. although I've gotten a lot of practice over the last little while.
Yeah.
So you're going to see how I struggle to crochet because I made my crochet so tight that it's almost impossible to do it now. And now that I'm feeling more comfortable, my crochet is starting to loosen up. But now I have to keep that tension because otherwise she's going to have like a...
Should be top heavy.
Top heavy. Yeah, top heavy. So it's a bit unfortunate, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
It'll all
So
work
right
out.
now we've done some shaping for the back.
Yeah.
And that's the back of my llama, and we're going around and we're going to start closing the back. But before we do that, we're going to talk about sweaters. And I'm wearing Rain, which I knit from the unisex book by Arne and Carlos, the New Nordic unisex book. But it's really Betsy's sweater that we're going to talk about because it's an amazing story.
Well, you've seen me wear it before, and you'll probably take note. I just don't have the quantity of sweaters that Kim does. I haven't been knitting that long. So after cutting the hole in the one last week,
Yes.
we'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
I pulled this one back out again, and Kim wanted me to share the story of it. So
Yeah.
the last time I wore it, for those of you who might be incredibly observant, it had a boat neck on it. So it was wider and it came quite high up, which is I think the initial design. I tried to follow the initial design, but I can admit right off, I didn't know enough what I was doing. It wasn't exact, but it was still supposed to be boat neck style.
Right.
But I wore it a few times and I couldn't handle the touching on my
They
neck.
come quite high
They
in
do
your neck
come
sometimes.
quite high,
Yeah.
and I'm someone who just doesn't want that. Anyway, so I watched a little moment with Arne and Carlos where they had no problems cutting into a sweater and reshaping it. So I decided if they can do it, so can I.
Yes.
Because I've been knitting like all of a year.
Yeah. I would say you're the epitome of the adventurous beginner.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this was your second sweater.
This was my second
Yeah,
sweater that I
so-
made.
yeah.
Yeah, which was an adventure in itself.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, so what I did is
Soul in Sedestal. Is
Yes.
that the name? Yes. Is it Soul?
Yes.
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
Soul
Because I think it would be
Norwegian.
like sun.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's a design by Sitzel
Hoivik.
Hoivik. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not the easiest beginner sweater. Because
I really wanted to do stranded color work, and I just fell in love with this golden
Yes,
yellow
it's
color
beautiful.
and the pink accents. I'm a pink girl.
Yeah.
I love pink.
Yeah.
So I went for it.
Yeah.
And it was complete, and it was done, and I wore it several times.
It looked great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just didn't feel right.
Right.
So I decided I have worked with a sewing machine. I'm not new to a sewing machine, so I'm confident there. So that part wasn't scary at all. So I just sewed as though I was going to do like you would with a steek.
Yes.
Just around the line. So first I threaded through like a thicker yarn to mark off exactly where I wanted to cut.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm bumping my microphone. Exactly where I wanted to cut. And then I just sewed it around, both with a straight stitch and with a zigzag, just to make sure.
2 rows, yeah.
Yep. And then I just took my sewing scissors and chopped it off. So it ended up
I love it. Love it. And you didn't touch the back. You just made the scoop in the neck.
I just scooped down, and quite a bit. I think I took off like about 2 or 3 inches.
Oh, wow. So it was really high
It really
then.
was.
Yeah.
First I pulled out, there's an interfacing on it that you fold down.
Right.
And I pulled that out and then cut it down to where I wanted, then picked up those stitches again all the way around and put the interfacing back on.
Right.
And yeah.
And we have to mention that this is a Norwegian rustic
Yes.
wool.
Also why I
so
wasn't as afraid to do it.
That's right. So when you're using real like woolly wools, then that's what steeking is. In that episode of Arne and Carlos, Arne explains that that's how they made their sweaters.
It just has a real stickiness to it. Like the fibers really do cling to each other.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not like you drop a stitch and it goes like silk or
No, not
something
at all.
like that. But so when they were, back in the day, when they were knitting the sweaters, they weren't fiddling around with shaping and all of that. They were making rectangles basically, and then cutting them. Yeah. That was the point of his story.
Yeah.
So you were motivated
and picking up, and then you just pick up the stitches and
do the
doing
collars
your detail
and stuff.
from there, collars and sometimes
Right.
even cuffs and things.
Right.
I think they even had, my understanding was like multiple people would work on a project. Or was that more in...
Well, there's actually, I just Actually, I was just watching the Woolly Thistle yesterday, their podcast, and she had somebody from Fair Isle on.
Okay, maybe it's
And
Fair
they
Isle.
they do piecework basically.
Okay.
So they had I think, I'm not sure, like, so if I get this wrong, it's not, but the point is not what I'm about to say anyway, it's what I'm going to say after. But I think they actually machine knit the plain parts of the sweater,
Like
in
just
Fair
the
Isle
plain-
sweaters,
the
like the
plain
plain
solid.
bottom part.
Yeah.
And then they have the yokes hand knit. So there's people that do the yokes, they're
Specifically.
knitting the yokes, and then this girl that they were that was speaking on the video was a finisher.
Yes.
So she did collars and things like that. So
details.
so
Yeah, so you'd have
different multiple
people
people.
doing-
so your tension
yeah.
must have to be pretty consistent.
Consistent and
I
even.
would
That's
think.
true. Yeah, and
They'd
I
have
think
to- I mean,
their
they're
yarn
great
also
knitters and-
is a bit more rustic
Oh
too.
yeah, it's absolutely the same, similar to the Norwegian wool.
Which I
actually.
think is why they often recommend it for color work, right? Because it gives a nice definition to it in the end.
Yes.
Because it sort of stays
Yes,
where it's
stays
supposed
put,
to.
yeah.
So
Anyway.
even after I sewed it and cut it, so I ended up somehow in my seam here. When I went back, it was a little bit bulky still. So I was like, and it's because some of what I had kind of cut away, it still had like the stitches looped in. They
Right.
hadn't even fallen out
Right.
after I'd worn it once. And
Right.
so then I went in and just took a crochet hook,
Yeah.
pulled some of those extra ones and trimmed them
Yeah.
off,
Yeah.
just to get rid of some of that additional bulk.
Yeah.
in
Anyway,
there.
it looks great.
Thank you.
And I think it's a fantastic story because the truth is, it's a gorgeous sweater, and you weren't going to wear it as often
yeah,
as you would have if
exactly.
the neck was right.
Yeah, I didn't want it just sitting in the drawer and I also didn't want to, when I thought about wearing it, every time, all I could think about was that itchy neckline on
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, great.
And that's just because I have sensitive on my neck. I'm fine on my arms. It doesn't bother me. I
Yeah.
don't wear a long sleeve under it or
Yeah.
anything. I do wear a t-shirt, but that's
Right.
just, I do under all of my,
Right.
my woolen knits.
Anyway,
So,
it's great.
Yeah.
Good job, Betsy.
Thank you. I plan to continue to be adventurous.
Yes, yes.
Well, and I think if you're not afraid of the piecing idea of knitting,
Right.
it opens you up to a
Yes.
lot of possibilities
Yes.
for. Well, I think is it Jennifer Beal does a lot of like non-traditional construction
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
she's not afraid to work in pieces
Yeah.
and then attach them in
in different ways.
non-traditional ways.
Yeah, she uses like different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she uses steeking a lot.
Okay.
And because she does most of her color work in the round. So,
Yeah.
but that could be a strip, like on my Jo Bat's arm. It's just a strip.
Yes, I remember
and
that.
then it's you have this band, but
Yeah.
it's done in the round, and then you just cut it, and then you attach the other pieces to that and stuff. So yeah.
Which is
Anyway,
which is
there's
good.
lots. You're right. There's lots of flexibility that you can do, and you know, I always say it's such a shame when you put in a lot of work in some kind of a project, and for whatever reason, it could be something small, it could be something a little
Yeah.
bit bigger, that you don't wear it. It's worth it to fix it.
To fix it,
To
yeah.
fix it.
I
figure it out.
personally even think it's worth it to, if it comes down to ripping it all out
Yeah.
and refreshing that yarn, washing it, and,
Yeah.
and doing it again right.
Yeah.
Especially if you've purchased a quality, lovely yarn that you've probably invested in.
Yeah,
you
it's
don't
totally
want it to just,
reusable.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
Okay,
Great. So now we're getting to the
all about the
llamas.
knitting, yes.
Okay. So just something just dropped there. But just a little
just a piece of.
paper. Okay. So you want to explain where we are?
Yeah, where we're at. So today we're going to work on closing up the back end here. We'll call it the rump. It'll come across the top of the back. And then we're going to start the neck and start the first few rows for building it up. And then we'll leave it with Kim to kind of finish that off because it's fairly straightforward, that process.
Right.
So hopefully by the end of this time, we've got a closed backside and up to the neck.
Great. And again, this is not a tutorial on how to make all the different stitches, but we just talk about the process of
Yes.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really slow at this, and now I'm even, I'm very tight. My crochet is tight, but I have to keep it going like that. So Betsy will finish her part before I
I'll
finish
probably
mine,
zip ahead a bit.
probably. And then we won't make you watch me painfully insert my crochet hook every time.
Sounds good.
And I forgot my crochet hook again today
Oh.
because I haven't. So this is, somebody asked the last time I was using this crochet hook. It's actually a Knit Picks Radiant crochet hook that we had in the store. And I was usually using my Rowan crochet
Which
hook.
one is the one one I'm using.
which is
yeah.
nice because it's got the nice handle
smooth
and
handle.
everything. But
Yeah,
it
works too.
It works too. So it
works
doesn't matter
too.
what crochet hook you're. And we actually said in the last episode, I said, well, nobody will notice that I'm not. And somebody wrote and said that.
Of course they noticed.
asking me what kind of crochet.
Well, it is a bit flashy too. It does
Yeah,
have
but
some nice, beautiful colors.
Yes,
to
it does. It's flashy. So
yes.
yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do is basically we need to close this off. So we're going to do that through a series of single crochet stitches and decreases. And for the first round, we want to do that evenly around here. So we're simply going to have Kim and myself go. We're going to do 3 single stitches, and then we're going to decrease the next 2 together. Then we're going to do 3 and then decrease the next 2 together. And we're just going to do that all the way around. So we'll go ahead and do that.
And again, I think you made a good point at the last episode. You're not really too uptight about counting how many stitches you have. You just kind of go with it. So this is going to be an exercise in that as well, because I haven't counted how many stitches, but I'm just going to go
with it. Go around.
Single crochet 3 and then decrease.
It'll be a couple of rows and hopefully finished and closed at the top.
Yeah. Okay, great.
We'll meet you back here.
Yeah.
So I've come around all the way to this middle section where, if you remember from last time, we made a single chain stitch in there to connect those two. So now it gets a little bit, you just have to pay attention because we're only going to crochet on half of that chain again, into half that stitch, so that we leave a stitch available for when we come around to do the neck part as well. Sorry, I wasn't showing very well there. So we're just going to go on the back half of those stitches. I guess it would technically be front loop only because you're working across there. So it's a bit of a struggle to get down in there, especially once Kim gets there.
I'm really looking forward to it.
She made her chain a little tight.
Of course, it's all tight.
So you just kind of get in there.
Somebody might comment, well, no wonder, because you're tensioning your thing
Across,
but it's I can knit looser. I can knit looser tensioning like that, but I'm just I'm keeping it tight on purpose.
It that way.
Yeah.
And I find once you have established how you hold your yarn, I find that hard to change.
Oh yeah, I try. It's funny because I crochet like with my second finger up, and I'm not and hold with my index finger.
Right.
But when I'm knitting continental, I do it
the
this
other way around.
So I would have thought it would have been easy for me to hold and then hold my thread like this, but I can't for some reason.
Okay,
it's weird.
That's definitely what I do.
Yes,
it's my
I know.
index finger that holds up.
Yeah.
But I also don't knit continental. I knit English style.
It should be that would be the same as continental when I'm knitting continental, but now I do the opposite. I don't know. It's weird.
Who knows?
Okay. Anyway, we'll be back.
All right. Well, actually, so I made it around.
She did it already. Okay.
So, and across the chain. So now I'm going to go around again, and this time I'm going to do single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease. So it's going to bring that circle in even quicker than the last round we did. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll meet you back around here. Great. So we've come back around, and as you can see, it really does start to close up fairly rapidly there. And that's good, because we don't want this backside to go too tall. It would just look out of proportion at that point. So now that we've gotten it down to here, we'll take a quick count of our stitches. I did mine. I've got about 15 stitches left there. So we're going to do that again. Same thing, every other round. We're going to decrease. And
every other stitch.
Every other stitch.
Right.
We're going to decrease. And then that final round, we're going to close that hole up either by using decreases or even just pulling through. But we'll talk about that when we get to there. So we'll go around one more time, and then we'll close her right up.
Wow. All right. I actually made around an irrelevant amount of time. So
I think you've officially done 2 rounds of decreases
that's right.
since we started.
I did.
So Kim has done 2, and I have done 3. However, she started with less stitches to begin with.
Right.
So we just took a quick count there. She has 12 stitches. So what I'm actually going to have you do is just decrease every single one. So you're going to cut your number of stitches in half. You'll be down to 6 stitches for this next round. Mine is small enough that we're actually, if it's okay, we'll take a moment, we'll get her to do that, and then we'll close it up together.
Okay, great.
You'll see how small Kim's hole has gotten down there, which is good.
Very tiny.
So you were already struggling a bit there to try to get
around.
Yeah. So we're not going to try to decrease using actual decrease stitches anymore at this point.
Okay.
So we're going to take the yarn.
Yeah.
And we're going to cut it.
Okay.
The scissors are.
Good thing we have safety scissors.
Actually, I think this, I don't even know. These are like, I think, school
Yeah.
scissors or something. So you'll need a darning needle because
Okay.
at this point we're actually going to weave it through.
Okay.
Oh, wait, sorry. We should finish off this stitch. So go in the last one and
Okay.
just pull your yarn completely through
Oh, okay. Just like you were doing your
Yeah.
last stitch. Okay.
and finish that off. Get him to stand there for a moment.
Okay.
Thread up our needle there. It'll be fun to see how you do your threading.
Why?
Oh, because different people do it different ways.
Oh,
Yeah, you
do
do
they?
it like me.
Oh,
Across
okay.
the bend and fold. I remember watching my mother like lick the ends, lick, and like try and get it through.
This usually works, but there's some kind of cool way that you can thread a needle that I wanted to learn. Have you ever seen it done where you just like rub it like this?
No.
Oh, okay.
But that's
Anyway,
sounds like
Some-
wizardry.
it looks like wizardry when it works. It's for thin thread, but okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to weave just in and out each stitch. So we're going to go from the outside into that one and then from the inside out of the next one.
From the inside out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're stitching like you,
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that.
Inside. And you're
stitching.
alternating?
Just go around the circle. Yep. Each stitch, the first one in from the outside and then the next one from the outside
Yeah. That's
in.
inside.
Until
Okay.
you get right back round, and don't even worry about pulling it all tight at this point. Until you get right back.
That one came that
To
way,
where
so
you
this has to
started.
go this way. Okay, this is easier than the Kitchener stitch.
Oh yeah.
In and out, in and out. Okay.
Which I have had a little bit of experience with this week. For
Yes.
those of you who watched my sweater haul, but
Yeah.
I did not have success. Kim
Okay.
and I will give a try after. Okay, so now you're just going to, I don't know how to show that. We're just going to pull it tight. I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Pull it tight.
Oh, yeah.
And there
Oh, that's-
goes the hole.
Okay. The hole disappears.
It's gone.
Okay. I have a little knob on the top
And
of
then
mine. but-
just stick your finger in and kind of, again, we
Shape
can
it.
manipulate that. This is a strange angle. You can kind of flatten it and manipulate it.
So it's closed.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And for now, we're just going to leave that end hanging there, and we'll
Okay.
take care of weaving that in later because we'll use another end at some other point and attach it to it. I like to knot them and then push it back inside.
Oh, okay.
So they're knotted inside, so you don't
Okay.
have to worry about them coming. So if it loosens up over time, that's okay. You can always pull it back tight
It's not
again.
going to loosen up.
No.
Trust me. Trust me on that.
Oh.
Nothing's loose.
All right, so the last thing we're going to do for today is we're going to reattach our yarn for the neck, starting here, and we're going to work around one whole round.
Okay.
So we'll switch back to our hook rather than our darning needle.
Okay.
We're going to go in about one stitch kind of away from
Okay.
the back here. And start there.
Okay.
Then you want to get your yarn and start it up.
Yep. All right.
And then I just kind of hold it in place and go into my next stitch before it really gets secured. Did that make sense at all?
Yeah, the end you mean.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I always just put it in. and
However
then I
you
have it-
would
yeah,
start,
that's
you go
right.
ahead and do that.
That's what I do. And then I hold it in my other hand.
Yeah.
All right. And then away
Okay.
we go.
So let's take a quick count of our stitches here to find out what we've got because we want to have 18 stitches within 2 rounds. We want to be at 18 stitches.
I might not have 18.
No? Give her a quick count. Let's
Okay.
see what we got.
All right. 15, including this.
Yeah, including across there.
I've got 18.
Oh, phew.
No,
okay.
I've got 19 maybe.
19? Okay.
Yeah.
So then you just go ahead. All Kim is going to do is a single stitch for 2 rounds around hers.
Okay.
And then I won't do it here, but what I'm going to do is make mine, because mine ended up being a little bit larger. So I will end up getting to 18, and then we can carry on up the neck.
And
which
I can decrease anywhere I want.
for going up the neck,
Yeah.
I have the pattern to leave with you for homework, but you're
Okay.
going to decrease evenly. So you're going to do
No, sorry, when I go
sorry.
around here, I'm going to go 2 rounds,
Don't decrease anything at this point.
even if there's 19.
Oh, you have 19?
Yes, I have 19.
Then I would probably decrease at the back
Yes,
here.
okay, that's what I-
right
that's-
at the chain
that was
stitch.
what I was
Okay,
thinking.
so you have
Okay.
19. So yeah, do 1 decrease
Yeah.
on your first round, then do a solid round of your 18 stitches.
Okay, great.
And then we'll build up the neck and leave you with that for homework.
Great. So I had an equipment error or equipment fault. So how tight is she? This is how tight she is. I took the hook part right off of my crochet hook. So we thought we were going to have to do internal surgery to find it, but it
she
actually
found
dropped
it.
on the floor.
Yeah, we don't need to call a vet. There's no splinter stuck inside of the llama.
No. So no colicking risk of this llama, but I'm out of the game. So as a good team player, Betsy's going to continue.
Carry on. So she at least got around 1 round of her 18, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
So that is the base of the neck. So you can see there, you want this to be starting to be higher than your rump. We do still need to stuff our back sides to make them nice and plump there, and we can do that and show them next week. So for next week, what I'm going to leave Kim to do is she's just going to build up her neck. So the neck is just a series of 1 full round of 18, then you're going to start the decreasing. We're going to decrease to 14 and 12, etc. And I won't tell the exact. If you have the pattern, you can go ahead and just look at exactly how that happens. So we're just going to slightly taper the neck as we get there, and then right before we do the head and finish off the head. Actually, we'll have to do some body parts. We can't close the head until we have a muzzle.
Oh, okay. Great.
We'll come back with a neck completed for you next week.
Yep. And a new crochet hook. And that'll be great. Okay, thanks, Betsy.
Take care.
Bye. So that's pretty amazing. I mean, the neckline on the sweater, I mean, you would never know that that's what she did, but it is just amazing that, so you shouldn't be afraid to do things if you think it through. And then you have to have the right yarn, obviously, if you're going to cut into your sweater like that. But she had a nice Norwegian rustic yarns that she could do it with, and it's great. And then after the segment, we recorded that segment a couple days ago. After the segment, we sat and looked at the sweater with the hole in it, and we found a solution. And she did do the fix. And she sent me a picture. So I think if I have the picture, I'll show it here, the finished, or she'll show it on the next llama segment. I think she has to block it again to like smooth out the stitches. So maybe we'll wait till the next time we do a llama segment to show you. But she did fix the hole in her sweater, and it was a good fix too. So the Fibre Festival is really starting to come together. So if you go onto the website for the Fibre Festival, this is the PEI Fibre Festival or Prince Edward Island Fibre Festival. You can Google it if you haven't visited the website yet. So the website is really coming together. We've started to announce the people that are presenting or workshops that are going to be done on the website. The vendors are also starting to be listed there. There's no booth numbers yet or anything because the final arrangement of where everybody is not done. There's a couple other hotels that have offered special rates for Fibre Festival attendees. And I won't tell you here what some of the people are, but you can go on the website and take a look because it's really kind of a nice group of people being rounded out there. And we're really excited about it, and it's really coming together, and it seems like things are going to be okay. Like so far so good. We're just keeping our fingers and our toes crossed, as one of a customer wrote to me today, and she says we're crossing everything to hope that it really goes through, but it looks really good. There's a newsletter for the Fibre Festival, so if you want to hear, there'll start to be regular announcements as everything gets firmed up. So again, the date for that is September 23rd, 24th, and 25th of 2022. So at the end of September, and there's lots of things going on in PEI at around that same time. So in the hotel where the Fibre Festival is taking place, there's also a craft brewery festival. So that's happening at the same venue. And there are other things that are happening around the same time. It's a time when we have there's a huge food festival that happens at the same time, and the restaurants are all featuring special. They have guest chefs coming in and everything, so that's happening around the same time. The end of September, 1st of October is actually a great time to visit Prince Edward Island. So if you're thinking of where you want to go for a late summer vacation or early fall vacation, there's all kinds of things to do on Prince Edward Island besides all of the fibery things. So you can check that out. So I think I've talked myself into. I'm starting to feel like I need a glass of water. I talk so much this time, but the only thing left is the harmony part. And on the harmony part this time, we had a big snowstorm, as I said. So I filmed or recorded during the snowstorm. So you're going to see in the harmony part, it's not that long. It's I think it's 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes. And there's not really a lot to see because it's really just snowing. But you'll see when I pan around that there looks like a little tiny door on the side. That's actually one of the doors to one of the barns that we usually leave open. And the drifts just drifted right to the door. So there's not snow in the barn itself. It's drifted. I don't know how the wind was blowing. I guess coming from the other side of the barn from where the door is, so that the barn slowed down the snow and it all dumped right in front of the door. But you'll be able to see it's a full-size door, but you can see that much of it because the snow is that high. And I'm on that mountain of snow. And I held on to the roof of another building to get to where I was recording. So you can check that out and really just take a few minutes to breathe and relax and listen to the music that I chose to go with it, and just watch snow. So that's it. So that's it for me. So enjoy the harmony part. I hope you have a great, happy 2 weeks and can find beauty and joy in something every day. And we'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time. Bye.